Hey guys, and welcome back to another Juicy React.
Yes, and we are back. We're in a new studio. We're not really, we just turned our desk around and it looks a little bit different. I'm also rocking the Sideshow Bob style. So no comments about my hair today, please.
Unless
we're not
you feel
here.
like it.
We're not here about the hair.
You can leave your opinion.
We're here today about a boy, not the movie. If you saw a reaction video that we did a few weeks ago now, there was this awesome kid on this show. It was a debate. I don't know how old. It was a debate between a few different countries, but with young people.
He was 17.
17? Really? You look younger than that.
He was 17.
Okay. He was 17. So young people talking in the 1950s on world issues, and it was super interesting.
It was on Prejudice actually, and it was super interesting. There was a girl from the UK, Indonesia, Japan, and the boy was from the Philippines. And someone actually sent this in on my Instagram page, so if that was you, thank you. It's basically him in another debate, but with some other people. So his name is Johnny Antillon from the Philippines. I think it's 2 years later, it's in 1954, and there's people from Israel, France, UK, USA, and of course the Philippines, and talking about the topic of criticisms of America. So it could be another interesting one today. I love getting a snippet of the world at that time, and it's amazing that it's on video and we can actually watch that. So we're excited for that today. But if you guys have got anything else you'd like us to react to, then make sure you head over to our Instagram pages and you can send us any reaction requests over there on the screen now.
Yes, and if you like today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. YouTubers say that all the time, they always ask for that, but it genuinely helps. So if you're enjoying the video, it genuinely makes a difference to the channel.
Do you know how much you're shaking this table?
Am I?
Camera is, look at this. See?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I was trying not to say anything, but I had to just say it.
We'll get into position. Viewing position.
3, 2, 1.
Chosen in nationwide
so it's a long one again. We'll do part 2. Let us know if you want it in the comments.
Almost 2 months now. They've been living for 2-week periods as guests in the homes of American high school students, going to classes with them.
So they're from these other countries,
and they're going to give their opinion
on American life.
And they'll give their opinion on America.
And I understand community and teenage activities after that. We're going to be talking about some of the misconceptions there are around the world about America, some of the misunderstandings, some of the criticisms, and the reasons for them. This is so long ago
now. This
half hour is simply
in my head, by the way, it's 50 years ago.
What goes on,
because in my head I'm like, we're in the year 2000.
When this group of 32 students, or any portion of the group, gets
together.
When
you do like quick maths,
here is Peter Hudson from the UK. He lives in Newcastle.
Look at that hair.
He was born though. He was taken to Hong Kong, where his father was in government service. And when the war broke out, he and his mother were separated from his father, who spent the whole war as a prisoner of war. Peter and his mother were in refugee camps in the Philippines. Later lived in Australia. Finally got back to England just as the war ended. Peter is now head prefect of his school and a champion debater.
Wow, what a great turnaround.
Johnny Antillon of the Philippines. Johnny hasn't taken very good advantage of educational opportunities. He can only speak 9 out of the 86 languages in the Philippines and the some 200 dialects that they speak. He's also, just a minute, Johnny. He's also going to miss his graduation exercises on April 1st in the Philippines. Too bad, because he's valedictorian of his class, chairman of the debating society, editor of the school newspaper, president of the student council, and I can't tell you how much else.
Not even a kid anymore.
We're sorry, you'll miss it, Johnny.
So
you'll
be
be on a plane on the way home.
Yeah.
Next is Nurit Auerbach from Israel. Nurit's parents came to Israel from Germany. She was born there in Haifa 17 years ago. Isn't that right? Nurit. Representing United States students is John Kriz, who's a senior at Princeton High School.
I think she likes Johnny. She gave him much more of an intro
there.
Actually
skipped over
she's like, Johnny's back.
What about some of these criticisms of the United States that are current in your countries? How about you starting, Peter?
Oh, yes. First of all, the one big criticism is that Americans try to live their life as though they were working an assembly line. Another one is that they try to run international politics like big business. They tend to see things in black and white, instead of as Britain sees them in black, greys, and then down to white. They tend to try and make big decisions and heal things with a quick stroke of the pen, whereas Britain allows time to take a big part. And the third big fault we find is that very few Americans are able to differentiate between socialism and communism, which makes it rather difficult for me as an Englishman coming from a welfare state.
I can't believe his hair. It looks like a snail or a slug on his head like this.
How about you, Nuri?
Or a cockroach is a beetle or something.
That the Jews here are, first of all, American and then Jew, it was very difficult for me to understand, as an Israeli, how any Jew could live in any foreign country and feel safe and secure after what has happened in the Second World War. And well, it was rather difficult for me
Still
to
so
realize
close to the Second World War at this
How
point.
about you, Johnny? We've heard from the Middle East and Western Europe now.
Is he
How about
American,
the
this
voice of
guy?
Asia?
So he's like listening, like,
Speaking
thanks,
for the
all
Asians,
these
I can say that
criticisms.
some of the points that bring the greatest resentment between America and the Asians are these. First
This
of
isn't
all,
the same guy.
you have a desire
No.
to run everything from the Asian point of view. And second,
Cut
you
the cameras,
bring
cut the
power
lights.
superiority which
We got the wrong
most
information.
Asians.
Someone
You're
messaged me
smart
saying he
because
did this
I thought he
before.
looked different.
I was like, he aged weirdly, like
This
he
is
looks
not
very
the same
different.
guy. Well, let's listen
Consider
anyway.
yourself the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
people
It's
on the
hilarious.
top of this world. And then the other point is that you have so much inconsistency in your foreign policy all over the world that most Asians do not know what to expect from the United States. We live from day
It's a
to day.
different guy. Okay, it's a different guy. At least we know now.
Oh, yeah, look.
We'll get comments now.
Two different
to sail
people.
us down the river.
Okay, apologies for that, but here we
Is
are.
that in helping us, we believe that there are catches. There's a catch in everything you do. I will not say that this is true, but we believe it very much.
There's one other thing, Mr.
Yes,
Waller.
Peter.
One misunderstanding between Britain and America. Most British people love to laugh at Americans. We love to laugh at your gum-chewing habits, the fact that teenagers take so much importance
Gum-chewing
about dating.
habits.
Well, it's psychological. We need the psychological uplift. By laughing at the Americans, we cheat ourselves into thinking that we're your equals in power.
I wonder if that fairly penetrating
Interesting.
observation is applicable elsewhere in the world.
I wouldn't say that, for instance, not in Asia, because Asians have never felt that we needed psychological tricks in order to place ourselves on a par with America or any other country. We believe that we have points where we are superior and that we do not have to look for other points where we are inferior. We recognize that there are some points where you're high, some points where we are high, some points where you are low, and some points where we are low.
Would you say that that feeling of superiority
Answer
is just
quickly,
as
Connie.
prevalent among Asians, their superiority, as you find the Westerners feel their own superiority?
Yes, in fact, you mentioned that now when an incident comes to my mind. I met a boy one time from the Western Hemisphere, I shall say. I shall not mention names. and one night he told
She really
me while we
likes
were in
him,
the
I
same
think.
room that
Get
he
on really
considered
well.
most Asians as racially inferior, mentally inferior, psychologically inferior, physiologically inferior per se. And it struck me, it surprised me, because just a few years ago, I had heard a Burmese boy use almost exactly the same words
A boy from Burma
from Burma.
used the same words.
That is
What
right.
did he say?
He said that you were immature, shallow, unperceiving, unperceptive, and words like that.
And
Can
that
you
the
see?
Asians were the superior ones.
That is right.
Well, one way of finding out whether we are or not is getting together and knowing each other. But what's your point about feeling that there's a catch in everything Americans do in Asia? I'd like you to explain that, if you would.
You see, Asians look at the United States helping other countries in this way. In helping other countries, you make them so strong that they become powerful competitors or may become powerful rivals. Now, this is like slicing your own throat. We can hardly believe that you would do this without some ulterior motive, so that we believe that anything you give with the right hand must in some way be shadowed with the left.
Now, wait a minute,
Interesting.
Guy.
Well,
That's the prejudice.
Are you knitting your brow, John?
Well, I don't quite see that the way he says this,
Here from the
there are
American.
misunderstandings on both parts, and yet I don't quite think that he says that we do everything with an ulterior motive. But then, don't we treat, when we find our own neighbors in trouble, don't we treat them in exactly the same way in which we help the other peoples of the world who are less fortunate than we?
by the way, when I said, I did not use I, that I believe it. I said that that is the general feeling in Asia, that there is something, a catch in all your motives and in all your purposes in Asia, and for that matter, throughout the world. You see? It may or it may not be true, but it is a fact that such a feeling
Good
exists
debater.
and
I
persists,
didn't say it.
and that is one of the
Yeah.
greatest points that separates the East from the West.
Do you
What-
feel that? I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, what are you going to do about it? Do you think you can do something to dispel this?
To dispel this is not our part. Since we suspect you, it is for you to make advances or to do some things that will cause us
Put
to
it back on
believe
him.
you more, to trust
It's
you
interesting
more,
to watch,
to feel
isn't
that
it?
you're
Yeah.
capable and worthy.
The American
of
guy's
feel
like,
glued.
what are you going to do about it? And he's
Yeah.
like, well, this is not my problem.
No,
This is
but
how
for
people think
example,
about you, not
The
me.
American sounded
We've been giving a
offended.
great
Yeah.
deal of aid
But
to
you would,
Asia.
wouldn't you? If you've had 3
Yes,
people
but you
saying
say, will tell
everything
you.
about America.
When you give aid sometimes to countries,
He's
you
getting
come
most
there
of the
with that
airtime
air,
here.
you know, where you say, well,
He
our
knows it
way
as
is
well.
best.
Yeah.
Your way is not so good. And if you don't take our way, well, that's just too bad. But you see how you backward people, you don't know what you're doing. We know what we are doing. In other words, there are times when they force aid upon us at a time when we do not like it. Or if they do not force aid upon us, you sometimes give us this aid without giving us a chance to participate in helping to build ourselves.
That's what I meant when I was saying that America tended to employ big business tactics in world international politics.
I'll clarify that point. For instance, in the few years after the war, you helped
He's
other
great,
countries
isn't he?
and
Yeah,
you gave them
smart.
large gifts. But you should remember a wise saying that charity has a bitter taste. And you gave it as if you were giving out alms. But today you have a better program, I think. You give us a chance where we put up 50% of everything you give. And that makes us feel much better. It gives us a feeling that we're participating in this program of helping ourselves.
When you talk about
Okay, we'll leave it there because we can do a part 2 if you guys want
Yeah.
to see it. Very interesting. I love these
is.
things. Like it's like you say, it's a snapshot into the world at the time.
Yeah.
Talking about things that are still debated now,
Yeah,
today, right?
totally.
So
I just want to clarify as well, I feel really bad that we didn't realise it's a different person.
Yeah.
Someone messaged us saying it was the same person, so that's why we assumed
we had
that.
false information.
When we saw it zoomed out, I was like, he looks different, but it is a few years
know what?
later, because it's a teenager, he's grown
in
up.
the intro, I thought his face looked totally different.
I was like,
oh,
wow,
he's changed a lot in 2 years.
But then he spoke, and I was
And
like,
his
that's not
voice
him.
his accent's totally different to
Yeah.
the original guy.
But it was good.
Cool, interesting debate. And it's the same show, I'm guessing. Same,
Yeah.
same woman, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same woman? I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't know what to believe anymore. But if you enjoyed this one, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let us know if you want part 2, and hopefully we'll see you back for part 2 very,
Yeah.
very soon. See you soon.
Bye.